It's an active demonstration that the cybersecurity people are going to take care of.
Maybe that's what's going on. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome as I call to order the January 13th special workshop of the Scambia County School Board. The purpose of this workshop is an open discussion on items brought forward by the board and the superintendent. I also want to congratulate Paul for being here today. I know you had a hard battle there for a while, and we're glad to see you back.
Well, thank you so much. And I was going to wait till there were the ones who show up a lot, like tomorrow, the ones that are required to be here. But I do want to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers and well wishes. I needed them, and they really helped. And I am very glad to be here. Now, there may be others who don't feel that way, that they'd rather be somewhere else, but I'd rather be here than where I was. But thank you so much. It means the world to me, and I am so humbled by your good thoughts and wishes and prayers. So thank you.
And we appreciate you being here, Paul. Okay, first up on our discussion is the Bellview Middle School Cybersecurity Academy. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we do have a group of students from Bellview Middle School. Mr. Harrell, would you like to...
Lori,
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh.
Lori Anderson, Workforce Education Specialist. I am so excited to welcome the Bellview Cyber IT Academy students here. I've practiced with them for about a week, a little over a week actually, and I was just sharing with someone when I first got there, they just stared at me and they didn't smile. They were afraid to talk to me. And I told them today, I said, y'all are so different. You're laughing at me, you're telling me stories, and sharing things with me. So it's been a pleasure to work with them. They've got a lot to share with you. Their teacher's going to introduce herself, and then we'll get on with the student portion of the presentation. Thank you again.
Good afternoon. I'm Ina Floyd Johnson, and actually I'm a teacher at Bellevue Middle School and also the FBLA coordinator.
I'm Sanai Noor, and I'm FBLA Vice President. I'm here today to tell you about my experience with FBLA. I did FBLA in 7th and 8th grade. FBLA stands for Future Business Leaders of America. One event I found really exciting and fun was that in FBLA, you got to compete in different topics and positions. When I got to compete for the first time, I chose digital citizenship and study and remember really important facts and techniques about the topic. When it came time for me to take in my test, I did a quick review and took it with a calm and confident attitude. Therefore, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
Furthermore, when you're in FBLA, you have to do events. And you have to find a topic you'll like to compete in. While you pick a topic, in between we do events that can include our school. One event we did was volunteer hours around the school. What we did was that every Wednesday we would go around the school and pick up trash and beautify our school. Another event we also did was that FBLA members got to pick 1 or 2 friends to help them on Wednesday to pick up trash as well. FBLA members while you're in FBLA, you have to do more than just 1 or 2 events at our school. We did many events that our school loved and appreciated. One was that we did a breast cancer awareness video with tips and advice for teachers and students, and we did a school survey about careers, and we did Black History readings on our school morning news to celebrate Black History Month in February. Any other way you put it, FBLA was fun to be in that year. And we also did a lot of events that was fun and really, really excited to be in. So any way you put it, I loved FBLA that year, and so did everybody else. So I decided to be in FBLA in 8th grade. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Hello, my name is Demond Street. I am an 8th grade student attending Bellview Middle School. I took business keyboarding in 6th grade. This class helped me with my posture, keyboarding, and presentation skills. It also helped me get many certifications, which I'll discuss in a bit. When I took this class, it was a fun but productive class. When I took this class, I exercised my mentoring and leadership skills. I also did peer tutoring. Some of the certifications I received were word processing, cybersecurity essentials, communication essentials, and spreadsheet essentials. These certifications helped enable me to do fun activities which will be discussed by a classmate. This class interested me into going further into my enjoyment of computers. I also took computer applications in business and editing software. In this class, we worked with editing software and the parts of a computer. I also got a certification called Multimedia Essentials. These certifications have and will continue to help me in the future in this class. In this class, we used Pixlr E to get more familiar with the tools of editing, and we used UCertify to certify in Multimedia Essentials. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Santos. I'm in the 8th grade at Bellview Middle School. I am taking the Social Media Strategist High School course and progressing into a cybernetic career path. Bellview allows students to properly learn how to type and to use important programs for coding. Students will further advance in their cybernetic careers in doing so. Schools such as Pine Forest, West Florida, and Tate High School will allow them to progress even further into their career path. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nuho. My friend call me Anna, and you can call me that if you want to. I'm a student at Bellview Middle School and president of FBLA in our chapter. Cyber IT Academy provide opportunity for students not only to be in the IT field, but also to protect themselves while they're online too. When talking about IT, people normally think about network engineer, computer developer, software engineer, or information security analyst. Personally, I think about medical informatics, more specifically, nurse informatics. According to Michigan Technological University, medical informatics is the intersection of information science, computer science, and healthcare. Medical informatics is an excellent career, but also really challenging. According to Northeastern University, health information professionals are often required to work with and train others in their organization, meaning soft skills like communication, leadership, teamwork, and critical thinking are essential. Currently, I'm in FBLA. I'm the president of FBLA in our school. Being a leader definitely taught me plenty leadership skill. I'm getting better at presenting, more delegating, and comfortable when speaking in front of a crowd. My confidence, independence, and determination are increasing. I also have lots of fun with that. I won the first place in keyboarding competition last year and had the opportunity to make posters, videos, speeches, and presentations to inspire Bellview Middle School. I also volunteered to beautify the campus and assist teachers with special projects. In addition, I get to know other members of FBLA while being the vice president of District 1. We have meetings almost every month to collaborate and plan out FBLA-related activities and events for the county. Bellview Workforce classes provide me with the opportunity to learn and grow to be the nurse informatics I want to. Therefore, I'm on a direct path to achieving my goal. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daisy, and I am in 8th grade. I remember in 6th grade when I was excited, not only because I certified in 4 certifications, ICT, Spreadsheet Essentials, Word Processing Essentials, Cybersecurity Essentials, and Communication Essentials. Then we celebrated by going to Golden Corral in the movies. I was really excited not only because we went to eat, but my friends were there. After Golden Corral, we went to the movies to watch Playmobil movie. That movie was awesome. There was a photo booth there, and we took pictures. Workforce provided us with the movie ticket, and we only had to pay for the drink and popcorn. Also, we could get refills. Best experience ever. The other celebration we had was the battle of the classes. The classes competed to win a pizza party and a free period of school. The class with the most certifications won. This year, we are hoping to go to San Juan City to celebrate this year's certifications in social media strategies. Thank you, and are there any questions?
Board?
I don't think I have questions as much as I just want to congratulate you for taking on this challenge, because what you're going to find out is you're going to be ahead of a lot of students next year when you get to the 9th grade. And they're going to be floundering a little bit, trying to learn keyboarding skills, presentation skills, and having the confidence that you have to speak. So business technology is near and dear to my heart, because not only was my wife a business ed teacher, but my daughter is currently a business technology teacher. And so I know the importance. Yes, they both, my son and daughter, had to take their mother for a teacher, so boy, that was a heck of an experience, but they've never regretted the things that they learned. So congratulations, and thank you very much for coming today. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I just wondered, have you talked to your friends and maybe your siblings, people who are coming up, about the Cybersecurity Academy? Have you encouraged others to join? And what is the number that are enrolled currently in the Cybersecurity Academy?
There are 2 full-time teachers for the Computer Fundamentals High School course, and they typically have about 150 students each.
Oh, wow.
One of the most successful middle schools as far as CAPE certifications for that reason.
Awesome. But from the students then, do you recommend to your friends and family members to go into cybersecurity?
I've recommended to friends and to family that the FBLA and the Cybersecurity Academy is pretty good to be in. And I've also encouraged friends to join FBLA to do some of the events and activities we do, which they found very fun and stuff, which is why we're in it again in 8th grade. And we found it really fun and enjoying, which is why we're kind of excited and appreciate that y'all actually have computer classes in FBLA as well. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to see that you're excited about learning and having fun at the same time. Thank you.
I'd just like to commend the young lady, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name well, that's the president, because you talked about the fact that you had learned to delegate. That is a very valuable skill to learn early in life.
Thank you, but it's just that I have to be, because there's not a lot of people that want to step up to be a president. That's why. Thank you.
Necessity is great.
Well, and before I let the superintendent say anything, I just want to say, as somebody who attended Bellview Middle School, I'm alumni, so I'm very proud of y'all. I wish we had a cybersecurity academy when I was there, but I didn't see the first computer till I started working with the Navy after high school, just about it. I think Laura Key there, we didn't have a computer at Scambia, I don't believe, when I graduated. Yes, so it was after that. So the world's wide open. Board Slateman's correct. When you get if you go to Pine Forest's IT Academy or another IT Academy, you are ahead of the game. So congratulations on what y'all are doing there. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Students want to just congratulate you on this presentation, and we're really proud of your teacher and your principal and assistant principal at the school providing these programs for you. Greatly excited to hear you talk about certifications. We heard from the group of you a number of different topics in which you have earned certifications. And those are exciting because one of those certifications may very well get you, lead to you getting a job. And maybe in the relatively near future when you're in high school. Each of those skill sets that you develop and you acquire are valuable, and we are excited that you are acquiring those skills. So we urge you to keep up the good work. I really like the question Mr. Fesko posed. Share the good news about your program, because there may be some sixth graders who would thrive in that program, and we want them to have that experience. So we're proud of you. Thank you for your presentation today, and great work. Keep up the good learning.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Oh, hold on one second.
I just wanted, I see a couple of people in the audience, and I wondered if parents were here so that we could thank them for their support of their students. If you'd
Yes.
stand up.
Can I also point out that, as you pointed out, there are a lot of jobs, but there are also jobs available to you to do exactly what these two ladies have been doing, and that's teaching the technology of the future. So don't bypass the fact that the Escambia County School District hires business technology teachers. So
Excellent point.
think of that for the future also. But you're on a good start, and congratulations. Yes.
Board Member Slayton, may I piggyback on that?
Yes, you may.
I, for one, used to teach business education in addition to another subject area, but you mentioned keyboarding, I used to teach that. So we would encourage you to look. I thank you so much for bringing that up. Teaching is a great field, so consider that as you get older.
Thank you.
If y'all will excuse us, we're going for mellow mushroom pizza and marble slab ice cream.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'm leaving.
We can adjourn for 15 minutes, I guess.
Mellow mushroom, wow.
Have fun. Okay, board, if y'all start looking at your calendars as they're leaving, we'll see you guys. Good job.
You didn't point out, you went to Bellview when it was
Bellview
brand new, right?
No. That was old school when I got there.
Wait a minute now. When did you graduate high school?
79?
Let's see.
Yeah.
They built Bellevue in, I think, 63.
Yeah, it was after. It's been
I
built
think
for a while.
63, because that's when they took Lon Wise from Blunt to Bellevue Junior High School Warriors to be the principal, and it was new, and I think it was 63.
Yeah.
Because I left Blunt.
I was born in 61, so.
Well, close. You were advanced, so you probably hurried there, right?
So when we got there, it was like, okay.
It wasn't that old.
It's a good school, though. It's built tough. Okay, calendar. We're going to go to January. Do we have any items that need to be added?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We would like to have a special meeting for out-of-field teachers during the week of January the 31st.
Okay.
We're suggesting 8 a.m. on that day, but
How about a 9 a.m.?
I think we can pull that
It's
off.
Elizabeth's responsibility to call the chairman and get him out of bed.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Monday? Is that what you're saying?
Or did you want it later in the week?
Push that back a little? Okay.
9?
Yeah, we can make 9 work.
Okay.
When does it have, I know we
What's
always
the
do
date?
this.
31st.
31st?
January
31st.
31st.
Does that give you enough time to get whatever you need, or us enough time to get all the names on the list?
Ask the HR person.
That's what I was looking at him when I was asking.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Ramirez and her staff will work as quickly as they can. But having it on Monday, it does limit us being able to work on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
But we'll get as many names as we can so that we'll be in compliance.
Okay.
Well, do we need to go later? I mean,
I
Do it in
mean,
the afternoon if you want to.
or we could
No.
do it on a Thursday or something,
Yeah.
or is somebody out of town? Oh, wait,
Tuesday,
we're supposed to
Wednesday.
go to FSBA, right?
We got to
Yeah.
get FSB. I mean,
who's gone?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're going
Yes.
to be in
Oh, is
Tallahassee.
that legislative day? Day in the legislature?
I've got
Yeah.
FADS training.
So we're going for the 31st.
Well, Mr.
So
Adams won't be back
Superintendent, it's your pleasure if you want to move that to the afternoon.
First, we could do it the first
31st.
afternoon.
31st? Would
First
the
of the
afternoon?
Give you a little bit more time in the afternoon, 3 o'clock or 4?
we have to
Okay.
post it on board docs, so really the morning or the afternoon doesn't make
Oh, it don't matter, okay,
difference.
okay. Then we'll leave it at 9.
Mr.
Okay,
Marquinhos?
yes.
Oh, I was just going to say that this room is scheduled at 4:30 the afternoon of the 31st for one of the R&R meetings, so it would not be available at that time.
Okay,
If you do it in this room, I know sometimes you do it in superintendent's conference room, but I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
well, 9
o'clock?
o'clock's fine.
Room 160.
Paul, you good with that?
Thank you.
Dr. Edler, you good with that date and time? Okay. All right. If that's done for January, we'll take a look at February.
Are we still going to be able to have the History Fair Awards in person? Anybody know? As far as you know, we're going to do it in person, or, I know that Ms. Arnett said they would be in person the last time I talked to her, but I just wanted to make sure nothing had changed.
Not, to my knowledge, it has not changed at this point.
Okay, anything for February? No, we'll move on to March.
Is the spelling bee at Pensacola State?
Last time it was at Booker T. Washington.
I was going to say, it's been two different places. Where is the spelling?
What's the date on that?
24th.
24th, yes, thank you, February.
Sure, I'm checking right now, so. I believe it is Washington High School, but I'm checking.
And it's only listed as one day, but it's usually a 2-day event. They do elementary one day and secondary another.
I think it is just a one-day event,
Okay.
and it is at Washington High School on the 24th.
Okay, we can move to March if y'all ready.
I wanted to ask, because I'm not seeing it, when are the Science Fair Awards? Because I think I have it on my calendar, but I don't see it on this one. Are they in February, or are they?
WF.
Yeah. Because I think I got noticed about it, and I put it on my calendar, but.
I'm looking at, hang on.
I may have made it up. I just thought I'd received something.
According to my calendar, Thursday, the 6th of February, from 7 to 8 p.m.
Yeah, that's what I've got at UWF.
At UWF, yes, ma'am. Actually,
What did he say?
hang on a
It is
second.
right there.
Hang
There it
on,
is.
that was 2020, so disregard
Oh,
that,
okay.
please.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that says 2020, never mind. February, let's see, I do have it on
I've
my
got
calendar.
February 1st
I've got February 3rd.
and the awards on the 3rd. I think the 1st is when the public can go and see the projects, and the 3rd is when the
The
science.
3rd
Yeah.
at UWF, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I have 7
6
to 8, but
You've got 7 to 8, I've got 6 to 7, I don't
we'll
know.
validate that for you guys.
I think usually it is at 7, yeah.
We won't be here for that one.
I might get back in time.
Well, you might be, okay.
You have to
It's-
say for
it
the
is
Friday
7
morning,
p.m.
and I don't.
It is 7 p.m.
Okay. I put it on when I was in the Eastern Time Zone.
M3rd. Can you update our calendars, Elizabeth? Thank you. Anything else on February? Okay, if not, we'll go to March.
Are we anticipating changing the board meeting date since it falls during spring break?
Won't have a lot of attendance if we leave it there, so,
I know it could be a good thing, but,
yeah, that's right.
I mean, we could still keep the workshops where they are and just drop it down a week.
Is it 22nd?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, I think that would work. That'd probably be the easiest to keep the workshops.
So move the board meeting on the 15th to the 22nd? Okay.
Yes, the 22nd.
Does any of the board members have a problem with that? Be the same time? About 5:30 p.m. on the 22nd? Dr. Edler? Oh, okay. All right.
Good.
Elizabeth knows to update that. Oh, you will not be here? Okay. All right. Somebody's going to have to fill some big shoes.
Maybe we could ask Ms. Goshorn, since she used to do it and kind of knows the system.
Okay, appreciate it.
We'd have to ask Ellen if it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, just somebody to scroll the, and hopefully Elizabeth will have my book ready before she leaves. Anything else on the, on March? What is the Golden Apples Award? Is it?
It's going to be
It's
on
virtual, and it's on
Oh, it's a virtual one?
January, it's the 28th.
January 28th?
Mm-hmm.
It's down there,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Oh, yeah, I see it there now.
You will be delivering to everybody except well, I guess she's going to be going to the winner on that day, but she sent out a schedule of when she's going to be delivering to each school.
Gift bags to those who are the
Right.
5 finalists.
Right. No, to everybody.
Oh, is that everyone?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's
because all
going to be-
teachers all the teachers from each school get a
Right.
golden apple.
Right.
Because she and I are trying to do 12 in one day.
Anything else on the calendar? Going once? Going twice? Going thrice? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Mr. Superintendent, next is the public forum update. Do you have anything to report?
Our public forum speakers, we had mostly were on the homeless center, and then we did have a couple speakers on some general topics as well. So as of now, we are all set.
Okay, all righty.
Yep. Can I, since you
Yes,
brought
go
that
ahead.
up, have we heard anything new on their plans since the mayor has announced the vacating of the property? Are they going to continue to try to move into the facility by Pensacola High School, or do we know?
I have not received any update on that. So not to my knowledge.
And I can't give you an update on that, but I was at Loaves and Fishes this morning, and several of the people who came for breakfast were talking about they had found another space, another place to go. So they're starting to move out. So I'm not aware of exactly where they're moving, but they are moving them.
Yeah.
They are-
They have several groups that are working with them to find places for them to go.
It seemed like from the meeting, when I watched the last meeting they had live on this, that they, like Patty said, they found enough space for the ones that are underneath the interstate, and they're moving them to, that's already existing. So, and that's about as much as I know about it myself right now. So I think it's something, Bill, that we'll have to watch and see.
Well, Mr. Superintendent, if you don't mind, can we specifically get someone to make a contact, maybe the deputy, and say, well, Ellen, I don't know that Ellen would get any more.
Working with the attorney.
She was working with the attorney, but I'm not sure the attorney gets any more information than we do sometimes.
Right.
But go ahead.
I will say, from what I have heard and deduced, the anticipated build-out, if the building is ultimately approved for the use to which they've proposed, it's still going to be several more months before anything is going to happen with it, because if you drive by it at night, you can still see through the walls. So there's still a great deal of work more to be done at that location. And as far as whether it's actually going to be put to that intended use, I think that still remains to be seen.
But
I will.
Okay, well, what I'm looking
can't stay on top of it.
if someone from the city is working with different groups or someone, I hope the city has some contact with those people to say, where are you moving these people? Because are they ending up back into the city, or does the county know they're being moved into the county and placed down? I think it's fair to let people know what's going on, especially us if it happens to end up near one of our facilities again.
Sure. Yeah. And I will add it, when I watched that Pensacola City Council meeting, there was people that lived right around that homeless camp. And I tell you, that testimony they gave about what happens around that camp was pretty bad. And it confirmed the fears that me and the superintendent had, what could be drawn near Pensacola High that may cause a problem for our children. So as I've stated before, our children is our number one mission, to keep them safe. So we want to make sure anything that's a negative impact, we know it in advance. And the superintendent has told the mayor, and I've told the mayor, and I've talked to the president of the city council and told her, we have that concern. So, but I guess until they do something, but I agree with Bill, maybe we can go to them and say,
follow up.
hey,
Yeah.
are you going to do this?
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Paul, you got any comment on that? Or?
No, I appreciate all the leadership that you all have taken and done, and I follow it on the news and know that we make our concerns known, but they're falling on people who have other things in mind.
I guess my biggest concern, I'm hearing that people are moving out of that particular location and people are helping them move out, but they must be taking them somewhere. And I think it's fair for everybody to know where that is.
Agree.
Mr. Chair, I don't know anything about what is going on, and I don't believe that people are taking them anywhere. Just before I came to the meeting, there was a person walking around in front of my house and said that she was homeless. And I referred her to Food Manor Bank, and she said, well, she went there and she got some food, but she was hoping that I would give her a ride. And I said, I can't give you a ride. So my point is, I believe that some of the people who were there are venturing out on their own now until something more concrete get developed for them. And I have never had anybody just walking around my area there. So I'm thinking seriously about what I need to do as an individual living in a community. What does my community need to do about it? It's just not a school system issue, a problem. This is a community issue, a problem. And it may not affect you directly, but I believe that it affects all of us in some kind of a way. And I know that I felt a bit different knowing that there were people walking around in my area that had not been doing that before. Because when I shut my door and go to sleep, I want to go to sleep safely. Not that they were going to do anything with me, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hey. All right. All right, Mr. Superintendent, if you can check and see what, because that is something we got to look at. And I know all homeless don't have any criminal records and stuff, but the law enforcement officials I talked to, many of them down there do. So it's concerning. Okay, so the next on our agenda is Mr. Paul Fesko.
I just wanted to question.
Let me say, it's the status of the MOU between UWF and Scambia High School.
Right.
Okay.
So I just need to know the status. I know that in November, when I brought this up, I was told it was going to be on the December agenda. And even though I wasn't here, I looked at this December agenda, and there was nothing on there. So
we have Mr. Marcanio, who will give us an update.
Well, Mrs. Morgan is actually prepared to do that, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm happy to report that it's in the hands of UWF, waiting for feedback from them. And while we're waiting, Mr. Murphy is looking at the location on his campus, and there's some things that need to be done then. So we're moving along, and there's some things we can continue to work on until we hear from them. So we anticipate hearing from them soon, but without that, we don't want to get too far down the road. So it's moving along.
has there been any discussion with Mr. Dennis's division with the facilities? Because at one point, when this all started, and this is, 2 years ago? When it all started, then Superintendent Thomas had said in some discussions, again, they weren't public discussions, there wasn't anything recorded, but that there was a sizable amount of money that was going to be set aside for renovations of a building over at Escambia High School. And I wondered if indeed that was still part of that, or whether it's just going to be something different at this time.
Well, you're exactly right with everything you said, and believe it or not, that was right.
Wait, my wife is maybe listening. Say that I was right on what I said.
This time. It was this time of year, right before the pandemic, that we were moving forward.
Right.
And then UWF said, just after we went into closure, and none of us knew what was going to happen, we're just going to stop and get a handle on that, and we all thought that would have passed by now, and it hasn't, of course. But anyway, so we haven't finalized anything with that, but that is still on the table. We know we have to have some renovations done with those facilities, and we're just waiting for the final approval, because as Mr. Marcanio has shared with you before, UWF just didn't want to move forward and make any commitments. They have the same challenges we have, and the whole world has, with teachers and everything else. But when we talked to them, since when we thought we were at the end of this, this school year, we were very encouraged with our conversation with them. So that's what we're waiting on to see, and as soon as we get that, and if I anticipate something finalized to go to the board just to seal the deal, but we're waiting for their feedback.
Thank you. I just, again, maybe it was my misunderstanding, or I heard something that I wanted to hear and it wasn't said, but I was waiting to see something and it didn't happen, so I just wanted to check.
This project has been delayed by the pandemic. But while I'm here, I'd like to share with you that we are focusing not just at Escambia, but on increasing our advanced coursework for students, opportunities for students. So more dual enrollment. We've had meetings. We're getting ready to go into registration for next year, believe it or not. Here it is, and the schools are ready to roll it out. We've been working since before Christmas with all the state changes and everything. So we're looking at adding some DE to some areas, and then as well as AP. So we're going to focus on AP Human Geography in 9th grade for level 4s and 5s, and put some 3s in there, so we're excited about that. Computer Science is a great AP class, and those level 3s, we can get them to pass that test. So acceleration points, if you start thinking about acceleration. But then we have so many other opportunities with our industry certs. Steve Harrell, I have to always give him credit. He's working on that. So more advanced advanced coursework is our goal, as you know, and for more opportunities for students, especially those underrepresented students. So that's what we're looking at, in addition to what we're doing at Scambia High School.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. And I sit here and I know that Escambia High's distance from UWF and from PSC make it more difficult for those students to access dual enrollment. So having that on the campus will do a whole lot for the students, for the community, for the school, for where they stand compared to others when they start getting additional points added to scores and grades and things like that. Right. So it makes a big difference for that school, and I don't want to be a thorn in somebody's side, but I do want to be a pin every once in a while and just stick.
I've worked with you a long time. You can be a good thorn in someone's side. I appreciate that. I do. But what you mentioned for that side of town, because our goal from the beginning when we sat at the table with UWF is to possibly have some evening classes for, community people. So that's exciting, because you're right, the transportation, that location is difficult for folks to get to the college. You can do virtual, but not everyone, that's not always the best.
Right. I'll take it from what Mr. Slayton said. If the students were to leave Scambia in time to get to the courses at UWF, then they're going to have to miss band or something else.
Exactly. So we're very excited
to be involved with. Getting it together on one campus will be a world of difference.
Part of our MOU addresses a marketing plan and rolling that out. So I'm real excited about that too. So it will have a name. We have to work with UWF. It's not just UWF. So we're looking at something. We're hoping something creative that's really going to get the attention, and then have a marketing plan for that. So we're excited. We're ready to go. Again, the pandemic just has delayed us, which is unfortunate, but and we'll have challenges finding the teachers, as you know, because but we're going to do it. We'll find them. So thank you. I appreciate the update. Any other
we'll keep that on the board's wish list. Okay. Yeah, Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board Member Fesko, I want to thank you for this discussion. It is an important one, and very important at Escambia in particular. And I want to thank Ms. Morgan too for bringing up the piece about the AP courses. That human geography class is a great freshman AP class. And one of the benefits is to cast that net wider. We want to make sure we're reaching kids who perhaps might not have been on the list to take an advanced class before. And we want to reach more and more of our students, because a lot of times a class like that can spark a lot of interest. And if we have some kids who connect to those courses and start building confidence, say, hey, I'm taking an AP course and I'm handling it. This is doable. Then next year we might be taking AP World History or Psychology or Statistics. The list goes on and on and on. So we really want to embrace students in those accelerated courses and get those opportunities for students. So thank you for sharing that information. Very excited about our high schools looking to expand that.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to say that is not impossible to have a class on Escambia campus. For a year, I know, I drove to Fort Walton to Eglin Air Force Base to teach class there. And so that's not the same distance. And so it's a possibility that it could be set up.
Excellent. Excellent.
Hopefully it'll move forward, Paul. It's a good program.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to any other comments on MOU? Okay. We'll move to the next one. I put this one back on there, the Teacher Academy. One, I knew Paul would be back. I knew Patty had talked about it briefly at a meeting the other day. And I was intrigued because I think, and we saw where Board Member Slayton was talking to the students that came here about, maybe your goal could be a teacher at Scambia High School, the school district Scambia County. Is this a possibility that we can get at least a teacher academy at one of the high schools as a experiment to see what kind of, how many students it would attract. Because I believe that is something good that we should try to do, is try to point our students to at least look at the option of being a teacher in our school district. So
I agree. I think that's a great initiative. And Mr. Marcunio,
Yes, sir. Thank
you want to
you.
talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir, and I'll ask Mr. Harrell to come up.
Okay.
He'll give you an update. Since your last meeting where there was a lot of discussion about that, myself, along with Mr. Harrell and Mrs. Morgan and other staff members, we've met and we've done some preliminary planning on what that could look like. And so, Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, sir. Yes, we met and planned out what it would look like and the best ways to approach that, because we've done these teacher academies in the past, and for various reasons they didn't continue moving forward. And we strongly feel that if we're going to move this thing forward in the future, we need to do it right, and we need to do it with some backing from the community and from all of us involved. And instead of looking at it from a narrow scope, we need a wide scope of opportunities for the students in a teacher academy. And so to that end, I worked with Aisha Atkinson in my office after our conversations as a group of leadership to develop a 4-year plan of what it would look like to start out with something a little different for this teacher. Instead of them coming in and teaching one class of Teacher Academy and then 4 or 5 classes of something else, honestly, we've learned that's a good way to push somebody out of the profession over the years, to give them multiple streams of consciousness that they have to work on simultaneously, makes it hard for them to be very good at the one thing that's most important. And for the Teacher Academy, the one thing that's most important is developing young people's interest and ambition towards joining us in this valuable field that we have. So we think we should start out with 1 or 2 courses, 1 or 2 sections, and the balance of their day being used to develop the curriculum, to develop relationships with UWF, with Pensacola State College, and others, to help those students be set up for the right articulation, the right pathway to get as quickly into the profession, but also as efficiently into the profession as they can. So over the course of 4 years, we would build that teacher schedule to a full mature load, and we're going to have to commit to not taking that teacher's time for the balance of the day with other duties, but rather the balance of the day should be built developing that teacher academy to something stronger. And we've talked about a whole lot of possibilities for that. Instead of the typical one program of study for a career academy, having multiples, so that a student would see what a pathway would look like. If I want to be a teacher, but I want to be a social studies teacher. I want to be a teacher, but I want to be a CTE teacher. I should have said that one first, since I have the lectern. But you get the idea, to map out multiple pathways for these students. So I brought that to the principals meeting recently and was looking for takers from schools, because what we need to do is we need to make sure we put it at the school that the administration is behind it and that the students have the interest there as well. So we're moving in that direction, and we'll keep checking back with you and letting you know where we're at in that process. But we agree it's important, and if we are going to be building programs to fill needs in the job sectors that have vacancies, look around us. We have vacancies here, and we should be working to fill those just like we are others.
Do you envision just rolling it out to one school at first, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Possibly 2. We talked in our meeting about possibly doing 2 schools, but in order to make this work, we're going to have to get some creative funding from some various sources that, we're looking into ways to find that, ways to fund that, because there will be a gap in the grid for those schools, and it's going to take some time.
And you'll try to pick the location where
it's going to work the best. And,
okay.
And if you had a partner school with that, then 2 teachers can be spending the balance of their day being a little more effective, but always better to start small and build this thing up so we can do it right.
Any comment, Bill?
Mr. Superintendent, might I call Dr. Michael Roberts to the podium?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts, come on up here and help me, because you have to fill in some gaps.
I'll do my best.
The 2 of us have been there and done that, right?
That is correct, Mr. Slayton.
Yes. Woodham High School had a teacher academy, the only one that I know of.
Outstanding teacher academy.
And it was moving along quite well.
Yes, sir, it was.
And so the name of the teacher that was in charge of the academy?
Susan Kelly.
Susan Kelly, who is currently teaching at Washington High School.
That is correct.
And I think it is important that a lot of the things
Kelly's cards?
Yes. A lot of the things that you are talking about trying to do and learn about the curriculum, it's been done.
That is correct. And Susan Kelly, I think Mr. Fesko has already reached out to Susan Kelly.
I did.
And I believe she still has that accordion and the file cabinet and the how-tos and the where-tos and how it was all done.
Susan was not a teacher at that particular time. She was interviewed as coming from, I think, a financial institution.
That is correct.
And she came out as the lead person for our academy, and it started. And to be very honest, her main job, the first part of the first year she was hired, was to go recruit. She went from school to school, middle schools, and looking for the freshmen that would be interested and developing the program. And it did not have an emphasis on a particular subject line. It had an interest on introducing students to the education curriculum, the entire education program. Some things you can remember?
Most of them were females. They were dually enrolled students. They did the general track.
That's right.
They finished when they graduated from high school with an AA degree.
Wow.
Several of those students are teaching within our district now, 2 of whom are Teacher of the Year for the Scambia County School District.
Yes, so it's been done. It's a program that we had the emphasis. Now, the one thing that when Dr. Roberts and I had to present this to the board eons ago, and that we had to say, if we don't get this, it's not going to work, is Ms. Kelly did not cost us a teaching unit at Woodham High School.
That is correct.
She was a funded unit from, I'm not sure whether it was from the workforce or wherever, but that wasn't my concern. I just needed somebody that had the devoted time to work and developing and following these students. And each year, she would develop the curriculum, be always developing the curriculum. These kids came up with some unbelievable presentations, because in their freshman year, they discovered, they studied under her the history of education. And they went out and presented all over Escambia County how education began, and gave people names and things about.
Recruited. The kids helped build the program.
Right.
Once they were in there.
And so, Mr. Harrell, there's a source of information that is I believe in a teacher academy. It was going along quite well, and students were attracted to it. Yes, like Dr. Roberts said, most of them were young ladies, and most of them were interested in elementary. But we weren't focusing on elementary. We were focusing on developing teachers.
And I'm very glad you pointed that out, that we're not focusing on elementary. We have our early childhood education programs as well, and they have created at least 60 teachers the last time we surveyed that have been through our early childhood education programs and come back to teach elementary school and possibly middle school. But the teaching profession needs more than just elementary school teachers. We need them across the board.
We do.
And I, to point out as well, it's not the only place we did it. We also did it at Pine Forest High School as well. So for a future teacher academy. So we've done this several times, and for whatever reasons, we haven't moved it forward into bigger and bigger and bigger. This time, we're going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Closure is what caused
Closure is what closed the Woodham Academy.
Right.
Nothing else.
And no one then picked it up, or it was not transferred somewhere?
It was not financially or personnel-wise transferred to the principal's position at Washington High School, and he's standing right beside you.
And if we fill the seats, then there's FTE, money coming in for that grid position. So we can do that. We need to fill that seat. We need to recruit to the point where we've got, 150 students knocking on the door to be involved.
Yeah.
Well, I would think that Mr. Harrell is familiar with Susan Kelly, since she's a DCT coordinator at Washington High School at this time. And I did stop by to see Susan Kelly, because Dr. Roberts suggested that. She was very pleased to hear that this could be coming. She would be she welcomed the idea of being involved. Anything that she could do, any materials, information, any meetings. And she gave me some cards to pass out. I think I've already given a couple to some people. Steve, I'll let you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know where to find her, but I'll come get that card.
You get a card and give one to Mr. Slayton so he could remember how to get in touch with her too.
I know where she is. There's no doubt I know where she is. I see her every year at graduation and tell her how great
again,
she was.
There's somebody that has the background, has the understanding, has done the job, and can give information for something new, different, better, what have you.
Yeah. Patty, you got any comments on this?
No.
Okay. And I believe it looks like we've got all 5 board members that support getting this teacher academy going.
Well, I think the important thing is that, as Mr. Harrell has said, that we allow the schools to present to us their plan. And then we look at who really is best equipped to begin this program. And then you just have to make the decision, do we dip into the budget and do it the way it needs to be done? If you don't designate people to do the job and you try to get them to do 5 or 6 jobs at the same time, something is not going to be done the way it should be.
I would think that one of the initiatives under ESSER funding had to do with keeping people in teaching positions and doing teacher things. I'm sure Terry could come off a million here or there to get things started over the next 2 years. And I know that I'm teasing about that, but if there were some decent fund sources available that did fit in, this seems to dovetail in there. And for startup purposes, we've got at least 2 years of funding that should be available to see what kind of enrollment we could entice.
Well, unfortunately, right now we have to do a lot of good PR on becoming a teacher.
Right.
That it is a good thing. Right. And that's one reason I wanted to speak to these young people when I said you also need to think about this, because IT jobs are aboundingly plentiful. And we are competing with a different market than we've ever competed with before. So, I'd like some of them to look at their teacher and look them in the eye and say, I might like to do what you're doing.
Right.
Mr. Superintendent, comment?
Yeah, I think this is an exciting idea. I think one of the guiding perspectives that Mr. Harrell I think is highlighting that's extremely important is the organization and the structure up front, and making sure we have the key leader in place, a school that's accepting and wanting to take that on. I think if we can get the key pieces in, because recently, a few years ago, I supervised a high school that had a teacher/coaching academy, and it was a magnet structure, and the challenge that the program had was the recruiting and getting kids not only from within the school that it was at, but others from other areas. And that's why the coaching part was added, was to cast the net a little wider, which seemed to work. And outstanding teacher, and I'd go in the classroom and I'd see a student teaching a lesson with a lesson plan. It was impressive and a lot of positive energy. So it's very doable. We just have to structure it wisely and structure it for success. And so really encouraged with what Mr. Harrell's sharing and some of the areas he's looking at, because if we can get outside funding, community-based funding, that's icing on the cake.
Appreciate it, Mr. Superintendent, because there is a great shortage of teachers.
Yes.
So
yes,
I agree with Bill and the rest of the board that we need to start recruiting within for our future teachers. So thank you. And if we're thinking about it now, hopefully we'll get this started where it will actually happen in the upcoming new school year. So that's what I was looking at.
We just don't need to rush.
Yeah, but hopefully we can get it going. Okay, or it'd be like Paul, we'll be putting it back on the agenda. So, okay, the next, is any other comments? Dr. Edler, you okay? All right. Okay, for the next agenda item, I put student enrollment on here and I really, the only reason I did it was because if we looked at those enrollment numbers that we got from Elizabeth here a while back, and we saw the hit we're getting from the vouchers that are going out, and something Patty said when we had Pensacola State College here, and they're setting up the charter school over there at the West Campus, and Patty said, you know, if we're not the choice option, shame on us. I believe is what she said. And the other reason I wanted to bring it up is because I was actually down sitting in rooms with some of the leaders in the state of Florida that's going to be making these educational decisions over the next 60 days down in Tallahassee. And I kind of know where they're wanting to head to. And I believe that if we have a safe school environment and we have a great educational experience for our parents and our students, a lot of this will take care of its own. We can handle this extra competition. But I just wanted to, and me and the superintendent has talked about this, and it may change some mindsets that we have in the future on how we deal with things. And I just recently had a situation in my district in Beulah that got it on TV, and the superintendent and Dr. Roberts came in there, and everything straightened out, and it seems everything's calmed down. But it does not take much, you know, to lose parents, and we found that out during that situation. So, so I'm hoping as we move forward that that's what we concentrate on is how do we turn around that decline in enrollment in specific areas that we have, and we're losing it. But Superintendent, you have any comments? I know we talked about it.
Yes. I don't know this. I haven't seen the bill, but I understand that a bill, I don't know if it's in draft or going to be presented, about increasing the voucher, the scholarship for families to take more money for private schools and for more choice options that way. We certainly provide a lot of choice within our district. To your point, you know, you made some very good points about that. I think for us, the reality is with this movement towards more and more private schools in Florida, it certainly forces competition upon us, and we're going to have to be innovative. I think of one significant sized city in the United States of America, not in our state, that has had a history of struggling with a kind of a two-pronged system of a private, a very large private, and then a public sector, and there have been some pretty big challenges to my understanding. So I think we really need to look at innovative ways and creating almost more choice within our schools, but high performing designed academic programs, and just different opportunities that may connect with lots of kids. So those are just some thoughts I have. I think the reality is that this whole initiative that has been taking place the last number of years is continuing, and I think we're going to have to be as competitive as we can be.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I know we're going to talk about our strategic branding and marketing. And I know I spoke with Mr. McFarland, and I think Mr. St. Cyr and I have talked about the amount of money that is going out. And I don't have the research or anything, but it looks like because they took away the part that said you had to have attended a public school first, that much of that money is going to students who have never come into our system. Right. So when we talk about marketing, one of the things that I am not sure we do a good job of is reaching outside ourselves to the community to let them know what academies are out there. We have brochures, and we talk a lot about that to our students that are in our system, but I'm not sure we do a good job of getting, and I know Mr. Harrell left, and he would be able to help me with this, but, you know, getting into an example. When I served on the planning board, there's a gentleman on the planning board that one day said to me, well, you know, your schools ought to do this academy. And I said, we do. We have 3 of them. And he's a business leader. And you know, I think that we just have to do a better job of expressing what those opportunities are within our system to the people who may not be listening every day to the announcements and getting the brochures and that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, I know my Orange County counterpart talked about when you first started your marketing campaign in Orange County, Orange County has a private school directory that they send out to everybody. Well, Orange County Public Schools started advertising in that directory. And, you know, getting the word out about what these opportunities are. You know, we have all these amazing academies, and if we can start talking about those students that have graduated from those academies, Dr. Robertson, you were just talking about the number of teachers that are working in our system that went through your academy. Where's our cybersecurity people? Where are our engineers? I mean, we have had some really successful students come out of these programs, and we're not talking about them. So I think that's part of the student enrollment piece that we've got to address. But to your point, the first thing, as you said at the administrators, is a safe and secure environment.
Safe and secure environment.
So
that would take care of a lot of the issues.
Yeah. But again, what I have said to some of the parents that are at some of my schools, and I think this is what happened at your school, is that an incident that happened one time got repeatedly shown as if it had happened multiple times. And that happened a lot at some of the schools in my district, that something would happen on one day and 2 weeks later I'd get a call from a parent and I said, no, that didn't happen today. You know, so there's a lot of challenges in our environment now with 24-hour, 7 days a week news and opportunities. And we're not going to be able to solve that problem unless...
We would know that kids would film themselves doing that kind of stuff. But
so I just, you know, that's my only comment there is that, you know, we've got to start talking outside of us.
And if I get a chance to follow up on you, Patty, because we've talked about this over time, and I'll let Bill go here in a minute, but we have talked about many times about getting our good news out. And we have shown Osceola School District on Twitter and Facebook where they're showing our academies. They're pushing this stuff out there. And so their local business, they see it. Just like when the superintendent went to Beulah Middle School the other day with Dr. Roberts, one of his employees posted it up on the private Beulah Scoop site, okay?
On the
People-
private Beulah school site.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, a lot of these groups are private, you know, for the communities, or even neighborhoods. Neighborhoods have private Facebook groups.
I understand that, but it's still.
They're experts at pushing these stuff out to people they know that will post it and push it forward. And it lets people know that we have those academies that you're talking about and all the good things. Because if we don't get that good message out, we're leaving that void for other people to put the negative out. And so hopefully we'll keep moving in that direction. So I know Cody went with Superintendent out there the other day. He took pictures, and I did see them out there on social media. And it just shows that, you know, we're out there in our schools and we're working them. So, Bill, I'm sorry, you're next.
Too many things running around in my mind. We have to do more to publicize the great things that are going on. And at the same time, we have to publicize what your child is not getting by attending a school in the Escambia County School District. Students are not being allowed, you know, we say a lot about academies, but elementary schools and some of the things that are going on. We don't have a medium where you can turn on your lovely TV, and they're getting bigger and bigger. What I see one the other day, a projector for 150 inches. I can't imagine what that looks like, but anyway. But that's what's getting people's attention. You said so, you saw something on one of the. I haven't seen that. I didn't see those particular things. We don't have we've got to look, to me, we have to look for a common thing that is out there in all of it.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
When I was coming up, Paul, in the beginning, it was the Pensacola News Journal. That's where you went. That's what you could get. If you could get on their pages, and of course they had lots of pages. They had more than 3 or 4. But that's what you had to get. An article in the news journal, and people would see that, and the good things were broadcasted that way. It's not there.
I'd use every kind of media types that we got. So,
what media platform is the biggest?
TV.
TV. Thank you, sir. We're not pushing our students on television to counteract what's going on. Those kids that spoke today, we immediately need them on something. Now, I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but it does grab my attention to look at Channel 4. What's on Channel 4?
You have a 4?
04. 1004.
I don't have 4.
Never been there.
That is the county commissioners.
Mine's 99.
Oh, for yours.
Now, whatever it is on yours, it's 4 on mine.
Okay.
And I get so sick and tired of watching their meetings, but you know what? They're coming up time in and time out. And it attracts people's attention. And then they put some things on there that's going on in there, but they're staying in front. Now, we have great things to put on there. Pine Forest football team could be a story, unbelievably great story for this year, for coming from where they have to where they are. And that gets people's attention. You know, we have kids going on trips. We have kids getting awards all over this county, and they're not going to get those in those private schools that they're taking a scholarship to, or whatever they're taking to it. They're not there. They're not going to march in a high school band of 200 kids. They don't have a band. They're not going to sing in a chorus. They're not going to do drama. We need to find how we can get in on those things to get those positive things out there that these kids are doing. All the kids, all the schools. So, I don't know how to do it, Cody. I'm not a media person, but I do watch it. And that's the catch. We all watch it. And that's the catch right now in Scambia County. It is on TV. And if you don't get on Channel 3, probably won't get on Channel 5 unless it's something negative, because they're not going to send a crew over here just to film some positive thing. Then we're not on there. And they're missing seeing some great things happen with the Escambia County schools.
I concur with Mr. Slayton. It's a good thing that Mona's here, because this board made a statement and said, we want to have a marketing campaign for this school district. You're hearing what we're saying again, Mona, and that's a good thing. Those are the kind of things we expected. It took a little turn. It's other things are happening. I keep being assured that it will turn into something along these lines. Bill, the videos we talked about, when the video was done by the academy for the superintendent
search, yeah.
Okay, there is a plethora of videos that can be gotten. My understanding is that all of the major networks or TV stations, Cody, you may know this and it may have changed, but at one point they were required to have public service messages. These could be sent out as public service messages. They will be shown to the people with insomnia, but they will be aired. And eventually people will tell others, hey, I was up at 3 last night and I saw this academy at thus and such. The other thing that we haven't...
That's still required.
Is it still required? Mr. Slayton wants to know. Okay.
I don't think so.
Shook her head yes.
I don't think it's still.
Well, you know what? We have great contacts. Sue Strawn is a friend of education.
I agree.
A friend of Escambia County, and we could, she could be contacted at any point. But there are other ways of doing it too. The private schools use billboards. And my first thought is, why would we do a billboard? Well, you know what? The majority of people that really ask us some tough questions aren't the ones that have kids in schools, because they get the information through the school. But we have a lot of community that has no idea. And so, Mr. McFarland, when you're there, when we do the choice programs, maybe we need to use a few billboards so people in the community know we have choice, we have enrollment, we have things that are going on as far as students applying. We need to do the stuff, and I don't want to step on somebody's toes because the bishop will get mad, but when they talk about it's time to sign up for the next year, we need to say, if you want your student to go to any of these academies, it's time to get out there and do it. Now, the parents who really are going to be involved with that already know it, but the regular community people will see it for the first time and say, hey, look what's going on in the schools. I had no idea. And they wouldn't, because they have no one in the schools.
Right.
But we need to step out, and you know that. I'm preaching to the choir and preaching. But maybe we need to develop a budget that's going to have some money then to spend on getting the TV stations to run some stuff. That, every Saturday morning or every Sunday morning or whatever, there's going to be a 15-minute segment on what's happening in the schools this week. I don't know. It's just some ideas. But we need to do it. And as much money as we're losing to not having students enrolled, I think that putting some money into having students come back to us would be a good thing.
In other words, parents, do you know what your child is missing out on?
Right. But not, the parents, we could get those parents good. We have a lot of connection from the principals sending out messages and things to the ones we have. It's the private school parents who aren't getting that. And those are the ones who are going to drive by a billboard or see something on TV.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, right, Paul. And I was going to mention, and I don't know if it's possible, if the county, but he was talking about the channel that the county has for their TV stuff. But maybe they'll let us have a little time slot on there, you know, if they, might be something to check into.
I approached Malcolm about trying to do something with them, and I don't know if he ever asked them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that they like that in their budget.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to do it 24/7,
right,
paying for it. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Would they be willing to share that station? What's it cost?
Right.
I don't know.
I thought WSRE had some type of thing with us too, that we could get so much airtime on WSRE.
Yeah, that's another one.
Because of some equipment that we put into that building.
I don't know. If you know something about that, go for it.
Again, these are some old brain cells that hadn't had to work in a while. But it's worth checking with people at Pensacola State to find out about WSRE and what their, at one point, commitment was that we got so many minutes a day on Channel 23.
Yeah.
Lisa Morgan just left. The AD is not here, is he? No.
No, sir.
I'd love to know what kind of viewing our football games got on those two channels that they were being shown on during the football season.
They weren't blab, weren't they?
No, well, I don't think it was it blab? One of them was blab, but one of them was a higher channel. The attorney Watson, he sponsored one of them, and then there was two going on at the same time. Now, they weren't always just Escambia County and Escambia County, but a lot of times, because we have so many schools, they had an Escambia County school, and it's good.
So there's a couple of options, Mr. Superintendent, if you could check into.
Dr.
Dr.
Yes, thank you. I think all of those are good points that you all are raising, and they will require some working to work. But for me, I don't think that you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish until we start communicating better with parents. It's one of the things that I tell my students. When you're in this class, I'm teaching how to communicate with your clients. When you get outside, you put on those high-heel shoes, those navy blue suits, and you think you're all this and that. Well, to that parent, you're not. And so even if you develop all of these academies and you're talking to a parent about, we have this academy, we have to, oh, that sounds wonderful. How can my child get in there? But if my child does not have those qualifications, that child is not going to get in there. And so while you build up that program, you probably did not communicate to the satisfactory of that parent. I've witnessed some of this, that I've talked about cultural competency. It is a known fact that white parents get talked with better than black parents. Now you may say, no, that's not true. I'm a living witness. I know that it's true. And so I thought to myself, if I'm going to be treated this way, with all of the intelligence and education I believe that I have, how does that parent with no education or 8th grade education advocate for their child? And so I think that communication is an area that we need to look at. How are we communicating with parents? Are we turning them off, trying to turn them on? That's something you have to think about, because I have good communication skills.
Okay. Mr. Superintendent, any final comments?
Yes, great discussion. I appreciate the discussion. And just a couple notes I wanted to share. One, I want to just share a little feedback I received from the middle school symposium that was held the other night. And Dr. Roberts did a fine job organizing that and spearheading that. I had a parent who said she had shared the link with another parent, And the response that she received from that parent was that she watched the link and she really wasn't considering sending her child to middle school, but now she is because of all the offerings and there was excitement and some enthusiasm there. I share that because I think it speaks to this conversation of communication, getting information out to parents. And in that middle school symposium, I think the most powerful piece was when the principals were given time for themselves to share about their school. And that was a really powerful segment. The other piece is just to share a little initiative that we have taken, and that is we are dabbling with billboards. And I am learning about billboards. There are different kinds of billboards. There are billboards that, kind of the old-fashioned, you put an image on there and it stays there for a month or two, right?
Right.
There are also billboards that electronically flip every seemingly 3 seconds, probably maybe a little longer than that. So the ones we have dabbled with, we have 4, I believe, now, are the ones that flip. So we were trying to be efficient with our expenditures, and it's very much of a demand pricing structure. So the ones that are seen more and are at key intersections where maybe you're stopped at a red light and you see more, cost more. So I have learned this about billboards. Yes. Right. We have one just south of Cordova Mall, or Bayou Boulevard and Brent, right in there before you get to 9th. Well, you're moving. You don't stop at that billboard. You're moving. So it's very hard to see, and you can't stop driving and look. So I've learned that certain billboards are much more effective than others. But it is an area we have started dabbling with. We were able to get our state championship diver from Booker T. Washington up on a billboard. We had a middle school student from Brown Barge win a Civicon award. So we have a billboard up on Interstate 110 and University, that intersection. So she was up there. We've had some of our staff award winners. So it's a start, but we have a long way to go on it. And I think we just have to be savvy, and we always have to be thinking on what I loved about this discussion is what's the most effective. How do we really get out? And so I think advertising on TV is a big window. The good stuff, costs more, but I think we have to weigh that, because if we're spending dollars and we're not getting a return on investment, we might need to go for the premium vehicles that are out there. So I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the work Cody's doing. We're getting into some new ventures, and looking forward to the future of that work, because it's important and it's powerful. And I think we stumbled on something with the middle school symposium. I think just seeing that dynamic was eye-opening. So I appreciate the conversation. Yeah.
I'd just like to follow up on the symposium. I wanted to, as you said, thank Dr. Roberts for that. But I was talking to Rodney because it was live streamed, but how many people did you, I think you told me that it had been watched now by over 1,000 people. So I think that's, because I was kind of disappointed at the number that actually watched it that night. But the word got out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or either everybody at the schools watched it. I don't know which one it was, but I'm going to be positive, and it was a lot of other people.
That's good. And we did have a billboard with Ms. Strawn on there about the middle school symposium, so that was one that Cody got out there, and we had one about grad rate too. But that middle school symposium, thanks for sharing that, Rodney, for those numbers, because it's encouraging to see the numbers grow. And I think capturing that where, we were competing against a national collegiate championship in football that night.
Yes.
Dr. Roberts is on really thin ice.
Some of y'all do scheduling and talk to football folks. make sure nothing's on that
But I
day.
think the recording was a good step, and that way people can go back and see it.
So is there a way to throw that recording out to parents now, even though it's over?
Is it on our Facebook page, the link? I mean, like, for somebody that...
If I can interrupt just a second, I think what would help, what Bill's talking about, with our messaging system, that we can go with parents, is a way to provide a link back to that. So if you got the K through 5 parents, can you send that link to all those parents? Just so they could see it and see how many hits you get from that.
Well, let them know it's out there.
Yeah.
Well,
If
again,
you have a 5th grade child that's going to middle school next year, get to know your principal.
Well,
the principals at the elementary can do a call out to all their 5th grade parents.
Yeah.
And say, hey, there was a symposium, and if you're not aware of what academies and what middle schools offer, this is a great way for you to get the information before you make final decisions. Although it may be past time for choice or no.
It's
I wanna
never
make sure.
too late for choice.
So
for the magnets.
somehow that they can get that link to know where to go to watch this.
Beginning March 7th, we'll take applications for all middle schools that have remaining capacity. So as of right now, the only middle school with no capacity is Brown Barge. So all the rest are available, and we'll start taking applications on March 7th.
So this is a great time for those principals at elementary to get their 5th grade parents to view the symposium before that comes out in March.
I think, and that's good. I just think we need to explore. A phone call.
Right.
Well, what else can we do? Or what else can we do? How do we get this out there, kind of bombarding them to say, hey, don't miss this opportunity? I told Dr. Roberts after it was over by email, it came across real well. It looked good on screen. I was captivated by it. I watched it. Of course, I know most of them. But they did a good job. They were prepared. Sue kept it kind of legitimate because she captivates the audience, and people, oh, that's Sue Strong. She's on the news, and why is she doing that?
Gives credibility.
Thank you. And so, we've got that. We need to use it as many ways as we can. And Ms. Morgan's not here, but maybe we need to put the high school people on the same spot and let them brag about their particular programs. I don't know if you can put a gong out there to keep them only talking 6 minutes or 7 minutes. Some of them did run on a little bit, but they were prepared. They did a good job.
High school's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
We have 3 overcapacity high schools, West Florida, Tate, and Washington. So we're not accepting any more requests for those schools. But we will open up applications on February 7th for any high school with remaining capacity, and that will start on February 7th. So we phase in, we do high school February 7th, middle school March 7th, and then elementary kindergarten registration starts April 4th, and so we'll also start all new student registration April 4th, and all those dates are on the school choice website.
And I hear you, but things can change. If we're really choice, we need to have a discussion about this, what's open and what's not open. We know the West Florida situation, and I think our county has accepted that. That's just like Brown Barge. That's just like Cook. But the rest of them, they don't accept it. Sir?
Well, and we could have some students who may be going to a private school and their families reconsider going to their home school once they see something like that and see the program opportunities. Because, you know, if we can talk about the advanced courses that are offered, the clubs, the extracurriculars, the co-curriculars.
ELA.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, I hear what you're saying about overcapacity, but Tate High School right now is not overcapacity. According to the latest chart, 2041 is not overcapacity. Washington High School at 1723 is not overcapacity.
So the overcapacity is based on our FISH formula of how many open student stations are at each school. And I do bring that to executive staff twice a year. So based on the formula that the school district applies to all schools, they are overcapacity, but I'm happy to have that discussion.
I think we should.
I think they allow 10% in that capacity figure, right?
That's correct. For in-district
new subdivisions
students
coming in, new growth.
Are you allowing it for the 4 new classrooms that they're putting in the old ag building at Tate?
Yeah, we've already added those to their FISH formula, yes, sir.
And now they're still over capacity at 2,000?
Yes.
But the beginning capacity was 2,200.
We added the new ag building into their capacity, so
It was 2,200 the year before last and the year before that. It's been 2,200 for a long time.
I don't know that, Bill.
I do.
Do we need to have a conversation about capacity?
I think we should.
Yeah, on
At a future meeting?
workshop.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that the
Elizabeth, if you'll put
superintendent's
that
staff
one
could be
down.
prepared, and Mr.
yeah.
Dennis could be here, and Mr. Wasden, and
Right.
those people.
Yeah. Would that be okay for next month's workshop?
Late for today.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, sir.
May I say one more thing about
Yes.
the marketing thing? Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, Chris.
McFarland. Because another thing, we talk about students and getting them and their parents involved. And I think one of the things we also forget, we put out things every once in a while, but is promoting our wonderful teachers and principals. I mean, we put out from things that happen. But like, for instance, and I know Mr. Slayton will know what I'm talking about, we had a middle school band director that was selected as one of, how many from each state?
Well, it was 280 from all
the
50 states.
To march in the Rose Parade. You know, this is, I think we need to talk about the teachers that get their kids doing history fair, the teachers that get their kids to do science fair. I mean, I know we give it to the newspaper, maybe they don't do it. So I have been encouraging and these people that sit here and hear me all the time, to make sure that our principals know to brag about themselves on their own individual websites.
Yeah.
We tend to be very humble, but humble is gone. We got to brag.
Yeah.
I agree with you on most accounts, but at this point, our principals are drowning. They are teaching and working in the classrooms every day. There are 2 schools that I am aware of. West Pensacola was one. They had 20 people out in one day.
Well, Mr. Leonard shared
So
staggering statistic number with me
it's
today.
just going to be, and I'm not saying that.
They don't do it all. They don't do their websites, most of them.
Right, but something, I think that at this point, there are a lot of people that are having a hard time, and we need to realize that. And I know you do, Ms. Hightower, that's not in question, but at this very moment, we're fired up about something, and they're going to hear it, and they're going to say, I don't need one more thing to do, or, you know, I really
We
am.
put a marketing plan together. Another discussion for another day.
And can I just say?
Yes, sir.
What she was talking about, Rusty Birtles from Ferry Pass Middle School, who once was the band director at Ransom, assistant band director at Tate, is the one who marched 5.5 miles. He did that for the 3rd time.
Wow.
First time he did that with Tate. The second time he did it with a band from Georgia. And he's back, and they opened it up to anybody in the United States who wanted to do it. And they had 280. And he's recovering now. But 5.5 miles, and it was great. And he's bald-headed, and I picked him out, and it's coming around that corner. And I had a tear in my eye. It was great for him to do that. I know Cody attempted to do some things for it. I think it got a little bit on Channel 3, but that was fabulous.
Yeah.
And there were only 2 directors from the state of Florida.
That's what I was trying to, whether it was 2 or 4.
And the significance of bald-headed?
The
There were
significance
4
is
in
that
his row.
we could find him, and there were 4 in the same row that were bald-headed. But he was an alto sax player, 2 from the end, 4th row. I knew right where he was. But he also had a sunburned head when he got through.
All right.
Okay, anything else, Superintendent?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want to let you know that Dr. Amadeo will need to leave at 5:30. So just for timing of her, she was going to come share.
Okay, yeah, we can move her next.
Just wanted to.
Just want to make sure everybody's
How
done.
long is that legislative update going to take?
Do what?
Legislative update.
Oh,
the next
it'd
thing,
be
how long will
quick.
it take?
It'd be pretty quick.
Okay.
But anyway, I appreciate the conversation because me and Jim, we talked out in the hallway. We don't know exactly what's coming down the pike on this session. You know, it may not.
We all need
It may create us to have a little bit more competition, getting our good news out, making sure our schools have a safe environment, good educational experience, and it'll take care of itself from there. But, okay, just for legislative update, I'll go real quick because I'll tell you right now, all smoke and mirrors going on there. There now, Jim's looking at me. So, you know, we're waiting for the real bills to start coming out and we start seeing exactly what's going. We're ready, we're motivated to jump on anything coming out. I want to mention a few things I think that has gotten some attraction, and we'll see how it goes, but the school bus cameras and the school zone cameras, it looks like it's got a little traction going on right now. Now, I don't know about the teachers having cameras on them in the classroom. I don't believe that one will probably end there. So there's a lot of these. There's, what is there, 400 bills or so, or 2,400, whatever it is. Yeah, and 90% of them, 90% of them's not going to make it to the end. So, so we're really trying to figure out what is coming. There's one that we're worried about, and that's concurrency countywide. Okay, there's a little shot going on in that, and where some of these school districts are doing the impact fees and different things. Some of the legislators, you know, are trying to stop that, it appears. Okay, and we'll see. To me, that's not good. Because, and it usually happens in these high growth areas where we're seeing the developers team on the legislators. So that's there. You know, Mr. Gruters has always got a lot of things going on about school board members and stuff, and that's, you know, kind of normal stuff going on there. So I don't know how much he is going to do it. We did have some good news on federal level. The federal judge blocked the vaccine mandate for Head Start teachers in 24 states. So it stopped that for those who just want to have a choice on it. Yes, I was looking at House Bill 1055, and that's where the teachers would wear a microphone and have cameras. So I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll watch it. Yeah, Jim's shaking his head no. We hope so. So.
Council didn't fund it.
Yeah. What's that, sir? No, they're not. They got.
Could be nothing new.
They also have the SB 1300. That's for school boards to stream their meetings and have a mandate of a minimum of 30 minutes to start every school board meeting allocated for public forum. I think it's a little rich that they're telling us 3 minutes, which that's what we do anyway. But if you go down to Tallahassee, you're subject to have a 1 minute.
Or
okay?
30 seconds.
And maybe in a auditorium, right? So people drive hundreds of miles and they just get 1 minute for the legislators. So that's kind of the smoke and mirror stuff going on. The really big stuff will come out later. And we will watch it as it comes about. And that's, you got anything else to add on? I think that's about the same, isn't it? Or what's FAD's hearing?
One thing that was shared with me today is that there may be there's some looking at the minimum wage requirement, and does there need to be some additional funding in association with that? So I don't know where that stands, but I heard there's a little buzz on that.
Well, and they did the bill that he's talking about for state workers. You know, they're talking about state workers where they're going to try to bring up the $15. Yes. And that brought out the questions, okay, how about school districts?
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get some traction on that.
So, and the other thing, the big thing is going to be this school accountability bill, and what does that look like? Of course, the governor's given the direction to the legislature, asked the legislature to work on a new state testing format. So that will be important work that the legislature does, and we'll see how that goes and where it lands.
Until we finally see a written bill with some muscle behind it.
They're out.
Is out now? That one's out? Okay. They got a companion? Okay.
I think the House just was about a week ago, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll see how this stuff goes. Okay, so we had somebody else we need to move up on the agenda?
No, it's the last item.
Last item. The last item.
Oh, the last item. Okay, good. Strategic initiative discussion. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Dr. Amadeo here today to share. She's going to be talking more on the strategic initiative piece today.
First, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So I do appreciate the conversation, and I want to reinforce that you're all correct. Both people who say it's about communication, people who say it's about mass media, people who said it's about community engagement, people who say it's about getting principals involved, all true. And so I think what you'll see in the next couple of months is the plan. And I think, some of you are talking about branding, which has to do with how do we get the stories out? How do we get people to feel good about what's happening in this organization? The second piece of it is marketing. In other words, how do we bring specific people into this? So that's two sides of the same coin, but very, very different in approach, in budgets, etc. So what we've been working through is a plan that addresses, and I wanted to just remind everybody, we're still working off of this research. We spent a lot of time. I think it's so hard sometimes when you choose, which you did, and I applaud you for this. You chose to listen. You chose a process where we would go out and listen to the teachers, listen to the community, listen to community leaders. And so all of that process has been what's gotten us here today. And while it still may feel very, what's the best word my grandson would say, smushy, it really is really tracking as it should. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to be proud, we're going to be proud, and the community is going to resonate with what we're doing here. So just about that, I really appreciate it. I took notes and wrote everything down, or tried to, everything that you said. But today, what our intention is to share with you specifically the strategic planning process. As you know, using this document, we presented to you last month for approval and received it, the vision, mission, values statements. Okay, that's the North Star. Now the question is, what is this organization going to do over the next 5 years to move toward that vision of the future? So the document that we shared with you is the process now that we are using to take all of that data and move this forward to the actual creation of the plan, the strategic plan. And just a reminder, because I know y'all have more than this to think about, there's the strategic plan initiative, and then there is the communications and branding initiative. The two things are running parallel, but they will merge and you will see that over the next 3 or 4 months. So I just wanted to just remind you of this. This intention is all about the strategic planning process. So using all that we've heard, we put together, and just these list of areas of focus. If you go back, I think it was page, if you want to do this later, in this document that you all have, it was in there, right? This is stuff that came out, or ideas that came out of the research process. So that's on page 22. So I just want you to know remind you where this came from, because I know you don't wake up every day thinking about this. So I just want to remind you that these areas of focus came from that research process. The last step in this process, before we move it on to the assistant superintendent and the superintendent to further develop, is to get your feedback. These 4 categories that we have defined along with these goals. Are we missing anything? Can I answer any questions for you? Because the next process in that model, where it says the first step says what do you want to focus time and resources, right? What we are saying is these 4 areas of focus, which include communications and outreach, culture, finance, and performance, are the big buckets of things that we need to look at. Underneath each one of those points are ideas that were generated during the research process. Okay? So as we hand this off and work with the assistant superintendents and the superintendents, this would be the starting point for where they should be focusing on developing the strategic plan. Obviously, from when you get into these goals, there's subsets and strategies, et cetera, but we want to get clear on these 4 areas and anything that you might want to add to this document before we pass this off for further development. So again, all of you weren't at, we couldn't bring all of you together in those dialogue sessions, so this is your opportunity to add to this or subtract from it, is what we're asking for. And then any questions about process too, I'm happy to answer.
Board? Any comments?
Well, I have to ask a question that probably was answered, and I just am still having a hard time figuring it out. Because before Mr. Fesko got on the board, we talked about strategic plan, and he was the first one that made the comment that the strategic plan was an internal document. Is this an internal document that we're planning? Or is this a strategic plan that says to the community what we want to do?
Strategic plans direct the resource allocations, et cetera. My experience with strategic plans in public institutions have been that it is a published document that people see and read, et cetera. So it would be something that you may not get into strategy 1.1.3, 1.4, but high level. Here's our vision, here's our mission, here are the values, these are the things we're going to focus on, and these are some of the measurements that we're going to have. So my experience in a public institution, now in a private institution may be different, but in public institutions, they are public.
They're always public, but when I look at it, and I understand, and I have the book in the car, I just forgot to bring it in. As I look at this, and they're not in any specific order, okay, because to me,
categories.
Performance is where we have to be, whether it's employee performance or student performance. And as I look at most of these, it's like you said, we have to look at where we want to be in 5 years. And so I'm having a hard time with the words.
Well, tell me what kind of words you need.
When you say the words, you mean the categories?
No,
or the
like empower parent engagement. What does that mean?
That's part of the job of the superintendent, assistant superintendents, to help define that. I can tell you what I think, what empower, and I can tell you what was discussed in the dialogue sessions.
Okay.
What was discussed in the dialogue sessions was that if you don't have parents engaged, you're not going to move this organization forward.
What do you mean by engaged?
Engaged mean actively engaged. They're listening, they're part of the system, they're part of solutions. They are also, to your point earlier, they're telling the stories. They're out there promoting the fact their kids go to the school. So engagement is key to moving this organization. And if I flip to a marketing perspective, people can't buy what they don't know about, and they won't buy what you don't give them a reason to buy. And they won't trust the people who haven't experienced it. So parents are going to be a key factor in achieving what some of the conversations that you guys talked about. So engagement, as it is listed here, empower meaning, are you actively reaching out and engaging parents and being proactive proponents and participants in the school system?
Okay, because when it was under communications, that's why I wanted to figure out what that was, because my PTA background, we've always talked about parent empowerment and parent engagement, and you know that can look like any number of things. Do you volunteer at school? Do you read to your child at night because you work all day and you don't have time to come to the school and volunteer? You know, so I just wanted to make sure that this particular part was more directed at us making sure that we listen to the parents and that we hear their concerns so that we can act to be in a better place.
Yeah, so one of the things, yes, so one of the things we will ask the assistant superintendents and the superintendents to do is to further define these. Then they will be further defined by strategies. So as we define, you just said it, reaching out to parents to do this, this, and this, that's a strategy. So as we develop those strategies, these buckets will, if you will, become much clearer, much more defined from the perspective of the organization and from the perspective of the research.
And I saw Dr. Edler, but if you don't mind, that's a hard measure. That's a hard thing to measure. And I know that we've talked about it with our strategic planning, that we want measurable goals. Mm-hmm. In the past, they have measured parent engagement from a survey only. And so I'm saying to those people who are going to have to flesh this out, that's not going to get it for me. That we're going to have to figure out other strategies to say to me that at the end of the day, we've accomplished this.
You know, one of the things we're going to ask for will be key performance indicators. Okay, with key performance indicators, we're going to say we're going to focus on, and I'm just going to make something up, right? Okay. We're going to focus on the number of parents who, I'm making this up, number of parents who participate actively in volunteering in the schools. Okay, just an example. Just an example. Just an example. Yeah. And then there would be targets, meaning we want to increase that engagement by X.
In the first year.
Well, what you really have to make these strategic plans more than file 13 documents is you've got to have a dashboard that is transparent and that is reportable. And you have to look at this, as we all know, strategic plans are wonderful in that they force you to see there. And then there's the reality of now. It's very important that strategic plans have both what we call long-term vision and short-term action. Speaking specifically, what does a 6-month, 12-month movement look like? You also have to have it so that there is flexibility while still maintaining the focus. So a strategic plan in today's world has to have both that long-term and short-term piece. And it has to be a management tool. Right, it has to be a management tool. So we're trying to build this, working again with the superintendents and assistant superintendents, their experiences and what we can do here. So I think your question, Ms. Hightower, will be, defined very specifically by saying if we're going to say we're going to increase recruitment and retention of high-quality employees, for instance, strategically, what are the 6 or 7 things we're going to do? How will we measure, meaning what are the KPIs, key performance indicators, and then what's our target? And then measuring that success over time. So I know these are high level, they're intended to be high level, because remember, these came from the community leaders, the teachers. All of these were the things that bubbled to the top when we asked, what do we have to do to move this organization to the next level of success? So while I think they did a pretty good job identifying, and we have gone and looked at other strategic plans and how are other counties across the state in the United States looking at things. These are some of the key factors everyone's dealing with. No surprise to you.
Yes, Paul?
Yeah.
Dr.
I'm sorry, Dr.
Oh, I was just going to try to respond to the engagement and the empowerment. I believe the district already have some engagement activities in place. When I look at the PTA, their involvement in certain issues within the school, they come to the board meeting and they share what they've done and what they plan to do. And so we have engaged them in that aspect. Empowerment, I look at, because that's a word, engagement and empowerment are words that's probably used in all discipline. And so in the social work area, I would say that empowerment would be, and I have to simplify it for the students, that I intend to empower you with the rules and the regulations, how to respond to your clients. I'll need to give you some tools. And once you have those tools, I believe that you would be empowered to the point that if you were faced with this issue or some similar issue, you would be better prepared to take care of yourself when I'm no longer in the picture. And one of the things for engagement is that a lot of social workers will go off and say, I have to complete my case plan. It is not their case plan, it is the client's case plan. And so mutually you work together on that plan. So you have engaged that person in a plan that's going to affect their lives.
Paul?
Very good. I like the clarity of that. I wanted to go and I guess if I made the comment about the internal document, it's the people who implement the majority of the strategic plan are internal. You don't hand it to the public and say, you're going to do this. And so I liked that when things started, that the meetings were with teachers and all employees in all areas and all levels, and that the input came from there because in the past, and I'm going back a way, and it was my failure, I guess, to change things at that point, had to do with, at one point we were going through a review of the strategic plan, and we had 1.1.2, 1.1.3, and I went to, because we were required to round and to visit schools, I went into classrooms and I said to teachers, what does this have to do, or where are you taking us to achieve what's in the strategic plan? And they looked at me like, what? Oh, yeah, they handed that out at the beginning of the year. I think it's up there. I also did it with principals and said, what are you doing to move the district's strategic plan at your school? And I'm telling you that, every principal I asked that question except one had no answer. One told me that as part of our SAC committee, as part of our faculty meetings, we discuss this and we talk about it. But the teachers had no connection to the strategic plan. So this new approach is giving them buy-in. Again, I go back, what people help create, they will support. And so the more we get the people who are going to have to implement and make these goals achieved are the people who are in classrooms and in school buildings. And I want to make sure that they have a lot of continued input, but then they get that connection that this is a plan for me in my classroom. This is not a plan for the district to make the school board happy and smile. This is to make things better for the students in my classroom. And if it's not going to be useful and meaningful, I just as soon stop now.
I wouldn't be here if that was the intent. Yeah, so well, I do want to make a correct, because I forgot to say this at the very beginning. We accidentally left off when we did our draft here, one statement. Did he go back up and put it? Yeah, okay, there you are. Align district and school-based planning and reporting. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That was something that was said, if I go back and I were to segment out the data, when we had the session with the teachers and the leadership that was something that was a big point. So I think Dr. Smith and I have spoken about this. How do we cascade this so that you have this, but then there's a similar plan at the schools? How do we share this with the PTAs? And so all of that is part of this process. And I know it feels very sometimes like we're walking through, and you know this. I mean, it's like, oh gosh, we're walking through mud to get to where we're going to. But we're making progress, and we're doing it the right way, step by step, with a lot of consideration and input. So I think at this point, other than just going back to the graph at the very beginning, where we are in this, we have gathered the data, we have put in front of you these areas of focus, which basically says these are the big buckets that we want to focus on. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work with a superintendent, assistant superintendent. They will kind of look at what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities around these things. Now, we also did a SWOT with the community, all of our dialogue stuff, so that will be put into all of this. And then based on that, the specific goals around those areas of focus will be shaped. And then from those goals, we will talk about KPIs and measurements. And then we'll talk about, okay, what do we need to do? Here's where we are, here's what we were trying to do, and here's where we're going. What are the specific things we need to do? In other words, what are the strategies that we need to do? So there is a process here, and at the end of this, what is spit out is the plan. And then what we're going to recommend is that those strategies, each of the divisions will have specific action plans related to those strategies. And then our hope would be that somehow we figure out a way, because it has not been done in the past, to bring that strategic plan to the schools so they can say, and this is what we're doing to contribute to each of these. So that's what we're hoping to do.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
When I look at your document, and I look at the strategic plan that was presented to us before you started your process, okay? Take those two documents.
The other one, the one from y'all's last
one that we
used
developed internally. Yes. And so when I look at those two documents, I see them fitting together. And I could be wrong, so you can clarify if I'm not. I see what you and your group have put together is what I consider goals. And that the one that the district has put together becomes objectives to the goal, because they are more specific in terms of what we should be doing in the classroom, in the school district.
To reach the
master plan.
And that's what we're talking about doing, is going back to the assistant superintendents, because the information we received from the public and the teachers was high level. Now they've got to get down where the rubber meets the road, right? And figure out how are we going to do this, and what does that look like, and how are we going to measure it? Because you're right, ultimately, their responsibility, along, in my opinion, like you said, the principals, et cetera. Does that answer? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes, Patty?
One of the areas that I would like to see included, we have underperform, and I'm not sure where it goes exactly. I don't know whether it goes under culture or whether it goes under performance, but I kind of think under performance, because we have support quality facilities, and I think we need to support quality employees. I've had some conversations recently via email with someone who was sharing with me that we need to do more to help our long-term employees continue to improve. We have a wonderful START program, and it's kind of like with our curriculum. You know, we learned a long time ago that when you buy a new curriculum and they come and they do their training one time, sometimes that's not enough. You need somebody to come back and refresh. And so, you know, I'd like to see us put something in there that says that we know that in order to retain, we have to, and that may be a strategy, but I just saw support quality facilities. I think we need to support quality employees.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Superintendent, get a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add an additional thought here. One of the things that I think our finished product will be, is I think it'll be a guide for our decision making. Where are we spending dollars? Where are we putting initiatives? Because sometimes we have to make those tough choices on, do we do this or do we do item number one or not item number two? We only have dollars for one of them, let's say. And so my hope is that this guides us to the core of our focus and emphasis. The other piece I wanted to share is eventually later, I think we were talking about spring doing some town halls.
After we get this stabilized, yes.
Yes. So I just kind of wanted to share that concept with you because I'd like to do a town hall in each of your zones in the each we would pair together and
like we did before.
Yeah, and then get community feedback and thoughts just about where we're at and what we have at that point in time. So just to kind of tuck in the back of your mind, that's one thing.
And we're hoping, and so much of this, of course, is dependent on everything, right? The context that we're operating in. But yeah, the idea would be that there would be this ramping up of energy, right? That we're doing our homework, we're getting it right, the due diligence needed, and then we'll ramp it up with, when we talk about engagement, not only schools, but also community leaders, also just the community in general and all the people who participated in this. So yeah, there will be a process for that, yes.
So, and that's it. Just wanted to add those 2 points.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Great
job.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
With the board's willingness, I'd like to ask Jim if he knows anything that we should know about the session right now. Just a short brief. Yes. I know you and Jessica are always looking to see what they're doing down there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
move to another state.
We are actually in the first week of the session, and it feels like the 40th week of the session, but that's just the nature of the beast. It is a very politicized session. I don't think anybody would deny that. It's an election year. It's a reapportionment year. Those are two major factors that are going to absorb the attention of the incumbents and the leadership. I was texting back and forth with Jessica. I have not heard, nor has she, of any pending committee bills that are deep into further growing the voucher programs. The voucher programs are set up to be self-perpetuating growth. They have a provision in them. The bill that was passed last year essentially opened the doors wide, and essentially says that as vouchers are not used and there is a projected allowable amount of it to grow, then two things happen. The availability of them grow again the subsequent year by a number, I think it's 1%, of the total FTE in the state. So that's like 30,000 kids a year. The second thing that happens is if they're not used all in entirety, then the income qualifications grow by 25% or a substantial amount every year.
I think it's up to about 100,000 now, right?
For a family of 4, it's a 375%, 75% of poverty level limit, which pushes $100,000 for a family of 4.
Yeah.
It's over that for a family of 5, and that will grow so that the folks who are entitled, and this is becoming more of a financial government entitlement than it is a voucher program per se, because it is essentially going to folks who already chose not to be with us, and it is simply subsidizing their choice. It's sort of like having a public golf course and a private golf course, but we're going to send some property tax money so you can pay your country club fees at the private golf course, even though you never played on the public golf course. It's not much different than that. The prospect of it becoming all-encompassing is built into the DNA of the program. The only thing they would do would be to make the numbers bigger. The limiting factor for that is money. Currently, the most important threshold that was passed, one of the most important thresholds passed last year, was the failure to require prior public school attendance. That means that many hundreds of thousands of students who are not in the FTE forecasts and therefore are not in the budget projections are now eligible to receive dollars from the FEFP.
Right.
The second thing they did was move all of the voucher programs into the FEFP, where some of them previously were line items in the budget. And the third thing will happen is next year they'll all be amalgamated into a single voucher program, because even the McKay vouchers will disappear as they're currently constructed. One of the concerns is that there's an effort to blur the previously well-established principle that dollars follow the student, and not what we mean that I can go to my favorite out-of-district private school, but that if I'm extremely complicated handicapped student, I get more money because I have higher needs. That's becoming blurred in this as the recipients of the vouchers want a bigger and bigger check, and they see someone with a bigger check. They don't understand that the differentiation is based upon differentiated need. So we're always vying for the concept that the money follows the student, and the amount that's determined is the average dollars per student. As I've told you before, if the superintendent and I added together our weight and divided by 2, and then that was our weight, one of us would be happy and one of us would be sad, and neither of our weights would change. The average dollars per student is a meaningless measure. That is not what it costs to educate a single kid in the state of Florida. Not one kid costs what the average dollars per student is. There are some kids that cost $5,200, there are some kids that cost $50,000, and there are no students who earn $50,000, by the way. But that's all part of this discussion. And none of that comes up in committees. Nobody from either party ever raises the question, and the only source for that is from a rapidly diminishing core of educational lobbyists that actually know something about the education business, because more and more of those are folks that are just power lobbyists, not real education people. So anyway, I'll get back from the preacher's desk and just get back to answering your question. We haven't seen committee bills yet. There always are some. There will inevitably be a charter bill of some sort. There will be a choice bill of some sort. There will be committee bills, but I don't think there's much left to be sweeping. There's going to be some changes, I think, in the funding and the way things are handled for particularly virtual charter schools, because it's come to the attention of one of the committee chairs, who is a very vociferous guy and went to Harvard, he'll tell you that several times, that maybe that's not exactly as it all should be, and that might be something that gets addressed in a way that we would find helpful, frankly, because it's problematic what's occurring. And we're having statewide schools that are chartered in a particular county and draw students from all over the state. They're consuming local dollars without adding $1 of local dollars to the school district's treasury, and coming from districts that are much richer in terms of the dollars that those parents are paying in school taxes in the district which they're not enrolled in anymore.
And that one schools like that's the one Rebecca Donalds has, right?
Honestly, I don't know that to be true. I don't know that.
It's a
one
charter
for sure.
school online.
But I know that's true of one that's run by Pearson Company, which also publishes our tests and our textbooks. So they got their hands in a lot of sort of a vertical monopoly, you know what I'm saying? So those are issues that are going to be addressed, I think. The two big accountability bills are out there. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed in them. We'll see what they turn out to be, because as you have mentioned, what starts out is not what's birthed.
Right.
You know, it's not how that works. But right now, they're pretty weak, in my opinion. And I'd be happy to tell Senator Diaz, and I forgot who the sponsor was in the House, but that's the case. If you look at the House bill, it really is a little befuddling to me. I may not have read it correctly yet. I've only read it a couple of times. But essentially what it tells me is that there will still and continue to be a Florida's standards assessment for 3 through 8 for math and English language arts, and that will still be an end-of-the-year test, and they're going to then try to study and create interim tests, the progress monitoring tools, and they'll evaluate what those look like, and that evaluation will take and report to the governor and the speaker and the Senate President, and some of the dates there reach as far ahead before full implementation until 2025. Yeah. So don't expect that this is going to be an amazing transformation. And of course, they'll still have to create these standardized progress monitoring tools. They will be bid. There'll be a vendor who will be bestowed with that business, and it'll have several $100 million price tag to it. I'm afraid it doesn't look as much like what the governor said he was doing to do as what the governor said he was going to do. And that might mean it'll be better different when it's done than it is now. But I do know, and it's not private information, that the major players in the school reform movement who created this and started this in 1999 are in opposition to this change by the governor. They made it very clear. It's not like a secret. It's in my headlines, you know. Yeah. Foundation for Florida's Future hates this. They think it stinks and it's going to ruin our accountability system. Patricia Levesque said that in public. It's quoted. It's what she said. That's why the bills look like they do, because they write those bills for the most part, or at least they give the first drafts to the staff who then rewrite the bills. But at some point, the governor will have something to say about it, limited because he's not in the legislature, and the leadership will have something to say about it. So there may be more progress at the end of the session than there appears embedded in those bills at the beginning. Whatever other things will go on, I'm not sure. I think that there's not this big pulse of a major change, because I think that happened last year for the most part.
Hope you're right.
Yeah, me too. I'm getting old. It's hard.
Let's hope you're right. All right.
One last thing, budget is, the governor's budget dropped. We sent you all an analysis of the governor's budget. The governor's budget does not contain enough money to fully address the compression of salaries for teachers based on the increase in starting salary, nor does it have enough money to address the minimum wage salary implementation or compression. Right. It does contain about $400 million in increases in the BSA, some of which will be consumed by FRS rate increases, and some of it will be consumed by other expenses that you're experiencing increases in costs for. But there may be some money left to help address some of those issues, and maybe that will be a bigger number before it's done than what the government. But that's the only unencumbered money that exists, and some of that will be encumbered by these things that are out there that you have to address, like FRS and minimum wage.
I heard they got extra money, right?
There's plenty of money. I mean, I haven't reported on it yet because I'm waiting for the third calculation, which is supposed to be tomorrow. I don't know. I'm holding my breath. Pretty soon the third calculation will come out after the fourth calculation at the rate they're going. But the revenue collections for the last month collected, which have kind of, let's see, November, December, November, was $400 million higher than the projections that were done in August. Right. And that's pretty much been consistent, so you can basically know that there'll be about $4 billion more money. And I'm not talking about any money from the rescue plan or any of that. This is, honest to God, recurring general revenue. Yeah. So there is money there to do stuff with. Right now, I think the governor's budget projects a failure to a choice to not appropriate at least a couple of $2 billion of that money, and that was based upon the prior revenue outlook. There'll be a new one this month, a new revenue forecast that they'll build the legislative budgets on, and that number will be bigger. So there is revenue to do these things that could fill recurring revenue needs and still have money left to deal with the kind of tax relief and so forth that we know that the leadership's going to want to do.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments to what Jim said, or we good?
You think we're smart enough to comment on what he said?
Thank you, Bill, as always. Do we have anybody to speak for public forum? Okay, good deal. Then anything for the good of the order? All right. So you, oh, wait.
No.
Oh.
Ms. Zaffron, I need to speak to you a second if I can.
Aren't you lucky?
Okay, we adjourn. Thank you.
I didn't want her to run out.